Welcome back. In this segment, we're going to focus on something that just about everybody loves to hate. I'm talking about the airlines. Seats, they're getting smaller. Fees, they're going up from everything from a checked bag to food, even water. Passengers, they have to deal with things like overbooked flights where they get bumped. That happened to me. Also, delays that leave them on the tarmac for hours. And that just happened on a Delta flight from JFK to Miami that was delayed for 8 hours, and things got ugly. Passengers are furious. That after sitting on the tarmac at JFK for longer than the length of a cross-country flight.
I don't think it's fair for any of us to sit here this long.
Their flight to Miami delayed due to weather. Their plane, it sat on the tarmac for more than 6 hours.
It was pretty unhumane how they were treating everyone.
Some saying they felt trapped on the plane. A brawl, it broke out between two passengers, forcing the police to respond and the pilot to send a strict warning.
But when things become physical and I'm hearing arguments and things being tossed around the cabin through a door, we can't have that. It's not safe for the passengers and the crew.
Eventually, the flight finally took off and landed in Miami at 3 a.m. That was 8 hours late.
I don't think that is any type of sufficient compensation for what people have to go through in that experience.
Several passengers saying they weren't offered food or drinks during the delay, but Delta, they dispute that. The airline issued this statement. Customers were offered both water and snack service while on the tarmac and were also offered the chance to take a bus back to the terminal, given the plane was parked in a remote pad for quite some time. And joining me now, Andrew Appelbaum. He's staff attorney for flyersright.org. Andrew, I thought the Flyers Bill of Rights, I thought this was supposed to remedy this, where we wouldn't be seeing people basically stranded on a tarmac where they can see civilization but just can't live it.
Yes, the 3-hour tarmac rule has significantly decreased the number of tarmac confinements. And after 3 hours, the airline must offer passengers the opportunity to get off the plane. And after 2 hours, the airline must offer water and snacks.
It almost, you know what that sounds like, that like you get to have food and water, like you're an inmate, even though you're paying for the pleasure. What is it, Andrew? Is it because they can get away with it, the airlines? Is it that the margin for this business has become so small that, everybody is literally nickel and diming you for every single, forget about amenity, I'm talking about water or to bring a bag on board. Is it because business is tougher or because they can do it to the customer?
It's simply because they can get away with it. If the Department of Transportation enforces the rule, then the airline may face fines, but passengers do not receive compensation.
Now, when these things happen, like we saw with Miami, what I don't get is, why is it still so permissible that the remedy for the displaced flyer is so, I find, offensive in that, fine, you're not going to kite everybody a $5,000 check or a $10,000 check, but they have thousands and thousands of flights. Why not give a real number of miles to a flyer with a lot of discretion as to how to use it? You caused the problem, or at least you didn't stop the person from getting on the plane. The least you can do is to make the pot right. They never seem to do that. And why wouldn't this be an easy thing on Capitol Hill for folks to get behind, that the remedies at least meet all the dislocation that these airlines are causing?
Exactly. The airlines can keep you on the plane for 3 hours and they're earning record profits, and they still do not provide compensation for passengers. If you look to the European Union, passengers get compensation for flight delays up to 600 euros. And so this is really something that passengers should have in the United States as well.
But who should they be pissed at, Andrew? Should they look to Washington and say, where's our advocate for this? Because you can't find a single person that hasn't had a bad experience in an airline. I'm not even naming the airline. I'm saying generically, why isn't this like motherhood and apple pie? Why wouldn't this be easy for Washington to get behind a real patients, not only Flyers Bill of Rights, but also real remedies?
Well, members of Congress enjoy perks from the airlines. They get cancellation and change fees waived. And so with federal law, the Department of Transportation is the only regulator of the airlines. So it's really up to the Department of Transportation to come up with regulations and to enforce them.
Okay, now finally to my biggest bugaboo, and this, as I acknowledged off the top, this has happened to me, and I'm sure I'm hardly the only one. If I buy a ticket to go to a concert, or if I'm going to a ball game or whatever else, I know that there's no chance when I show up to the door that they say, oh, sorry, we gave somebody else your ticket. Wait here and maybe, you can go see the encore or whatever else. I have a ticket. I bought it. I was never notified otherwise, and consequently, I'm going to go in. On a connecting flight, they told me, yes, sorry, I know this is your, layaway in Charlotte until you're going to get back to New York. Yeah, we bumped you because we oversold your ticket that I had bought well over a month ago. To me, I get it. Not everybody shows up. You want to maximize the seats. But that's the problem of the airline. That's not my fault or my doing. Why isn't it first come, first serve? Whoever buys the tickets, the first, let's say, 100 for the 100 seats, are promised their seat. If you buy 101 or 102 seats, you're told you're only going to get on. This is basically standby. Why do they throw it into a lottery here and penalize me for, obviously I'm personalizing this, for buying this thing well in advance and being a responsible consumer?
Well, airlines should not sell more tickets than they have seats in the first place. And so they have every financial incentive, though, to sell more tickets. And then if not enough people cancel or change their flights, then they do provide a small amount of compensation as required by regulation.
But it's obscene. I mean, how do you know what's waiting for me on the other end, what emergency I might have, and that you're going to bump me and then I have to grovel here to get a seat on something I already paid for? It's just, to me, unfathomable that that's still permitted in 2019 in the United States.
It's completely unreasonable, and it's because the airlines are putting profits ahead of passengers. Passengers, if they buy a seat, they should be guaranteed that seat regardless. And the fact that regulations only require a small amount of compensation, that enables the airlines to go ahead and sell more tickets and then hope that someone takes an airline voucher from them.
Andrew, there are more rights afforded to flyers than I think the public knows, and certainly the airlines don't go out of their way to publicize it. Before I let you go, tell a good resource where people can check out and have on the ready so at least they know what their rights are and what they're afforded. For example, international flights, they could be leaving money on the table that the airlines won't let them know about, that they actually have a right to enjoy.
Right. Passengers are entitled to compensation for flight delays on international travel, thanks to the Montreal Convention. And passengers should go to flyersrights.org, and they can find out all of their rights for flight delays, baggage issues, and everything.
And that compensation on those international flights could go up to even $5,700. So it's good to know what your rights are. Andrew Appelbaum, I appreciate a few minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Glad I got that off my chest. When we come back here, we will switch gears to politics, and we're going to check in on the 2020 presidential race. New numbers, they're out, and the top candidates, they're also honing their messages. We've got the very latest.